Hi and welcome back to LDF-Designs. In today's video, I'm going to be working with these seed starter pots, and they are a all natural material. So I'm going to be covering them with this stucco mixture, and also I'm using some of these other items that I'm showing you. I have some chalk paint, some staining inks, and I also have a few fabrics that I put some staples in, some that doesn't have staples. Not sure exactly what all I'm going to put on there, some plaster wrap, and then also some little rusty nails that I'm going to apply to these and get them ready for encaustic. So the first thing that I did was go ahead and apply a couple of coats of this on the inside, and I did not anticipate how much moisture they would absorb, so they got much more pliable as I was doing this part of the stage than I expected. And I had a little bit of trouble, but I ended up letting them sit and dry for a while before I applied more coats. So this is just the first coat, and then I will go ahead and start applying it on the outside as well. I added a little bit of this chalk paint into my stucco mixture so that I could have a tint to it. It's a grayish blue color, and that just colored the mixture a little bit and gave the layer that I'm applying obviously a little bit of color, which was what I was looking for. I do enjoy subtle colors on artwork, so that's what I was going for here. And as I said, this kind of got a lot more pliable than I expected and wanted to lose its shape often, so eventually I'm going to go ahead and pull out some cups and set these on the cups, and then eventually I actually had to let them dry and then put more coats on it. I wanted it to have a nice thick coating of this stuff on there. So once I had those first layers dry, then I went back and applied a very light layer just to kind of re-moisten the area that I was working with. And unfortunately my camera angle wasn't great here. I apologize for that. But I have the plaster wrap that I am sticking some of the nails through, and then I'm applying that again to kind of the wet area, so the two wet bonding materials will bond together, and then as that dries, then they'll be stuck on there real well. I was trying to help these to be a little more rigid and durable, so I was applying plaster wrap in strips and squares all around the pieces and on the bottoms, and once I let those dry I sprayed them with the inks, and everything came together real well. They're much more sturdy than what they were when I started. So I was having some trouble with my camera. I did apply some encaustic to the inside of these cups. The reason being is that obviously those plant pots are made to disintegrate with the plant, and so I wanted them to be something a little more durable and sturdy, so I applied that stucco mixture. It's got a little bit of concrete and a little bit of drywall compound and some paint in it, and then once I put all of that on there, then I wrapped it with the plaster wrap, and then of course put a layer of encaustic on there. What that'll do is keep the water from getting to it, and that should help it stay sealed up then. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and start applying encaustic to the outside of these, and I did struggle a little bit trying to figure out how to fuse them. They're a little bit different than my vases, as I could stick my hand inside there, but they did really retain the heat a lot, so it was hard to keep my hand inside if I was fusing it. So went back to the cup method and would apply the encaustic Started off using my heat gun, but eventually I started using just a small blowtorch to do the fusing. One of the tricks when you're doing this type of work is to turn the piece often when you're applying the wax and also when you're fusing it. So most of the time I have these with the top, so they're upside down, so the opening is towards the table, if you will. But every so often when that wax is still soft and pliable, I will flip it to right side up so that the wax will then balance itself out a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm using clear encaustic, I'm using white encaustic, and I have it's almost like a pearl color or a tan, but it's very, very light, and it also has a shimmer to it. So those are the three colors that I'm using, and then towards the end I will put a little bit of the cerulean gray, and at the very end, which I did not show on camera, I added just a little bit of gold encaustic. So I do have several colors on them by the time I get done. When the wax is warm, it's kind of like having a melting ice cream cone. So again, I'm obviously working those around, moving them in different directions, just trying to get the wax to go where I'd like it to go and not run down someplace maybe where I don't want it. Once it cooled a little bit, I did go ahead and start making some marks, and I'm going to apply a paint. It is, I believe it's called Transparent Earth Orange, and I believe it's an RNF. Oh, it's a Gamblin, sorry. It's a Gamblin, but it was Transparent Earth Orange is this color. And gonna go ahead and apply that to the surface where I have lots of texture and some marks that I just made. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I do use vegetable oil as my blending medium. I have stated that often, so if for anyone who's watching or has been watching for a while, I apologize for the repetitive information, but I get asked quite often. But that is vegetable oil in that little brown bowl. I use it as my blending medium and to clean off any of the excess oil paints or tar or whatever filler medium that I'm working with. So at this point I did the Transparent Earth Orange, and then I'm going to go ahead and apply some other encaustic to this after I fuse it, and then I'm going to use a second color. So my intent for these was to create some holders for the little succulent plants that are out there. The water will not hurt these as long as you're just using small spritzes of water to water the plant, or just small amounts. Obviously, if it gets too much water on it and there is any area that I did not get the wax covered well and it gets down to that substrate, it can probably cause some issues. But as long as you're using it in a light manner, it should be just fine to use as a holder for the little succulent plants that are out there. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have not subscribed, please feel free to click that button. Leave me a comment if you have any questions. And I am so glad that you joined me today. I will have some pictures of these over on my Instagram page as usual, and here in just a moment I'll show you where I ended up with them after I added a little bit of gold encaustic. Thank you for joining me today.